At my age, I thought I understood what mattered. I thought the sacrifices I made, the bills I paid, the doors I kept open, I thought all of that meant something. I thought it made me important to the people I loved. But sitting in that hospital room at 60 years old, waiting for someone to pick me up after my surgery, I finally understood the truth. Sacrifice didn't make me important to them, it just made me invisible. If this sounds familiar, stay with me. You can like and subscribe. We talk about things we don't say out loud. My name is Janet, and for 32 years I've been the person everyone in my family counts on. My brother Leo calls when his rent is due. My sister Emma texts when she needs someone to watch her kids. My mother Scarlett expects me at her house every Sunday with groceries, and my husband Marcus, well, he expects dinner on the table and a clean house, same as he has for 3 decades. I never minded. At least, I told myself I didn't mind. But 3 weeks ago, I had a procedure. Nothing major, the doctor said, just a small surgery to remove a growth they found during my annual checkup. Outpatient procedure, he called it. You'll need someone to drive you home, he said. You'll be groggy from the anesthesia. Don't take the bus or try to walk. Simple enough, I thought. I scheduled it for a Thursday morning. I told everyone 2 weeks in advance. I sent a text to the family group chat. Hey everyone, I have a small medical procedure on November 14th. I'll need a ride home from the hospital around 2 p.m. Can anyone help? Leo responded first. Oh man, sis, I have a job interview that day. Really important. You understand, right? Emma sent a voice note. Janet, that's the day of Kayla's school performance. I've been planning it for weeks. Can you reschedule? My mother called me that evening. Janet, why didn't you tell me sooner? I have my church group that day. We're organizing the food drive. You know I run that committee. And Marcus? Marcus looked up from his phone at dinner and said, What time did you say? I've got a tea time with Raymond at 1. Should be done by 4 though. Can you wait a couple hours? I stood at the sink washing dishes, my hands in warm, soapy water, and I felt something shift inside my chest. Something small and quiet, like a door closing very far away. Never mind, I said. I'll figure it out. Nobody asked how I'd figure it out. Nobody offered an alternative. The conversation just moved on. That was 17 days before my surgery. I didn't bring it up again. Instead, I did what I always do. I called my friend Julie, the one person who isn't family, who doesn't need anything from me. Julie, can you drive me to my surgery next Thursday? Surgery? Janet, what surgery? Are you okay? I explained about the growth, the procedure, how it was minor but I needed a ride. There was a long silence on the phone. Then Julie said very quietly, Did you ask your family? They're all busy. Another silence. All of them? Marcus too? He has golf. Julie didn't say anything for a moment. Then, I'll be there at 10:30, and Janet, we're going to talk after this. The morning of the surgery, I woke up at 5. I made Marcus his breakfast like always, scrambled eggs, toast, coffee exactly how he likes it. I laid out his vitamins next to his plate. I made sure his favorite mug was clean. He came downstairs at 6:15, same as every morning for 29 years. You're up early, he said, sitting down. I have that procedure today, remember? He looked at me blankly for just a second. Then, oh, right, the thing, what time is that again? Noon. Julie's taking me. Julie? I thought I was. He stopped. We both knew he hadn't offered. Well, good. That works out then. I've got that tea time anyway. He ate his breakfast. He kissed me on the forehead. He left for work at 7:30. I sat at the kitchen table in the quiet house and looked around at everything I'd built. 32 years of cooking and cleaning and organizing and paying and showing up. The walls I'd painted. The mortgage I'd helped cover even when Marcus was between jobs. The furniture I'd saved for piece by piece. I'd made this house a home. But sitting there alone, I wondered, when was the last time anyone had asked me how I was feeling? Not what I was cooking, not if I could babysit, not if I had money to lend, just how I was feeling. I couldn't remember. Julie picked me up at 10:30 exactly. She brought me a coffee and a magazine. She held my hand in the waiting room. She was there when I woke up, groggy and confused, and she drove me home carefully, avoiding every pothole. She helped me into bed. She made me soup. She filled my water bottle. And then she sat on the edge of my bed and said, "Janet, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. When was the last time your family took care of you?" I opened my mouth to answer, to defend them, to explain how busy everyone is, how much they have going on, how I don't really need much anyway. But nothing came out, because I couldn't think of a single time. "That's what I thought," Julie said softly. "Now let me ask you something else. How much money have you given Leo in the past year?" I didn't want to answer that either, but Julie just waited. "Maybe $4,000, I finally said. "He's been struggling. And Emma? How many hours have you spent watching her kids?" I thought about all the weekends, the after-school pickups, the overnight stays when she and her husband wanted date nights. "A lot," I whispered. "And your mother? How much do you spend on her groceries every month?" "Around 300. She's on a fixed income." Julie nodded slowly. "And Marcus, how many years have you worked full-time and still come home and cooked and cleaned and taken care of everything?" "That's just marriage," I said. "That's what you do." "Is it?" Julie asked. "Because I don't see him taking care of you right now. I don't see any of them here." I closed my eyes. The medication was making me tired, but it wasn't the medication making my chest hurt. "They're just busy," I said. Julie squeezed my hand. "Honey, everyone's busy. But the people who love you make time, and the people who value you show up." She stayed until Marcus got home at 4:30. He came in smelling like grass and sunshine, his golf shoes still on, tracking dirt across the floor. I'd mopped 3 days ago. "How'd it go?" he asked, barely looking at me. "Fine," I said. Good. What's for dinner? I'm starving." Julie stood up. She looked at Marcus for a long moment. Then she looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes that I'd been avoiding for years. Pity, not for my surgery, not for my pain, for my life. After Julie left, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. I could hear Marcus in the kitchen, opening and closing cabinets, looking for something to eat that he didn't have to prepare himself. And I thought about something I hadn't let myself think about in a very long time. What would happen if I just stopped? What would happen if I stopped paying Leo's rent? If I stopped watching Emma's children? If I stopped buying my mother's groceries? If I stopped cooking and cleaning and organizing everyone's life? Would they notice? Or would they just be angry that their ATM machine was suddenly out of service? I fell asleep with that question sitting heavy on my chest. But when I woke up the next morning, something had changed. I couldn't name it yet. I couldn't explain it. I just knew that for the first time in 32 years, I was starting to wonder, what would my life look like if I mattered as much as I'd made everyone else matter? And that question, that dangerous, necessary question, was about to change everything. But I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that I was tired of being invisible in my own life. The question was, did I have the courage to make myself seen? I need to tell you how it started, because it didn't start with cruelty. That's the thing people don't understand. It started with love, or at least what I thought was love. I met Marcus when I was 28 years old. He was 32, working construction, had a smile that made me forget my own name. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at my mother's house. I wore a cream-colored dress I'd saved 3 months to buy. Marcus wore a suit his brother lent him. We were happy. I remember being happy. Back then, I worked as a receptionist at a dental office. Marcus worked steady construction jobs. We split the bills, we split the chores. On Sundays, he'd make me pancakes and we'd read the paper together on our tiny balcony. The shift started so slowly, I didn't even notice it happening. It was small things at first. Marcus would come home tired from a long day and I'd offer to make dinner. Just this once, I'd say, "You worked hard." And he'd kiss my forehead and say, "Thank you, baby, you're the best." Then, just this once became twice a week. Then, every weekday. Then, every day. When I'd ask him to help with dishes, he'd say, "I've been working all day, Janet, I'm exhausted." And I'd look at him tired and worn down and think, well, I've been working all day too, but he does physical labor, that's harder. So I'd do the dishes myself. That was 1994, I was 30 years old. By 1996, I was doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the laundry, all the grocery shopping, and I was still working full time. But I told myself, this is what marriage is. This is what women do. My mother did it. Her mother did it. I'm just being a good wife. My brother Leo was 26 when he first asked me for money. It was 1997. He'd just gotten divorced and needed help with his security deposit for a new apartment. "Just $500, sis. I'll pay you back next month when I get my tax refund." I gave him the money. I didn't tell Marcus because I knew he'd be upset. I took it from my personal savings account, the one I'd been building since before we got married. Leo never paid me back. And next month became next year, and next year became never. But 6 months later, he called again. His car broke down. He needed $400 for repairs. I gave it to him. Then it was his electric bill, his phone bill, his credit card payment. Every few months, like clockwork, Leo would call with a new emergency. "You know I'm good for it, Janet. You're the only one I can count on." By 2002, I'd given Leo somewhere around $8,000. I'd stopped keeping exact track because it made me feel sick to add it up. My sister Emma had her first baby in 2003. I was 41 years old. I drove to the hospital the moment she called, brought flowers and balloons and a gift basket I'd spent 2 hours putting together. Emma looked at me from her hospital bed, exhausted and overwhelmed, and said, "Janet, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how to be a mother." "You'll learn," I said. "We all do. Will you help me?" And of course I said yes, because that's what sisters do. At first it was just advice. Phone calls at 2 in the morning when the baby wouldn't stop crying. Then it was babysitting on Saturday afternoons, so Emma and her husband could have a date night. Then Saturday afternoons became twice a week, then 3 times a week. By the time Emma had her second child in 2006, I was watching her kids every weekend, every single weekend, for free. I'd make plans with Julie, a movie, a dinner out, a shopping trip, and then Friday evening would come and my phone would ring. "Janet, I know it's last minute, but can you take the kids tomorrow? We really need a break." I'd cancel with Julie. Again. Julie stopped asking me to make plans around 2008. She'd just say, "Let me know when you're free," in that careful voice people use when they've been disappointed too many times. My mother, Scarlett, she was different. She didn't ask for money or time. She just expected it. Every Sunday for 30 years, I've gone to her house. Every Sunday, I've brought groceries. Every Sunday, I've cleaned her kitchen and done her laundry and listened to her talk about the church ladies and the neighbors and everything wrong with the world. I can count on one hand the number of times she's asked me about my life. In 2010, my mother needed cataract surgery. I took 3 days off work to take care of her. I slept on her uncomfortable couch. I made her meals. I drove her to follow-up appointments. Marcus complained the whole time. "When are you coming home? The house is a mess." "There's no food." "I'll be home Tuesday," I said. "Can't Emma help your mother? Why does it always have to be you?" I didn't have an answer for that. It just was me. It had always been me. When I got home Tuesday evening, the sink was full of dishes. There were pizza boxes on the counter. Marcus's dirty clothes were on the bedroom floor. "I didn't have time to clean," he said. "I've been working. I've been working too, and taking care of my mother." But I didn't say that. I just started cleaning. That same year, Leo called with his biggest request yet. He needed $3,000. He'd lost his job and was about to lose his apartment. "I'll pay you back, Janet, I swear. I just need a couple months to get back on my feet." I'd heard that before, but I gave him the money anyway, because what was I supposed to do? Let my brother end up on the street? Marcus found out about that one. We had our biggest fight in 15 years. $3,000? Janet, are you insane? That's our money. He's my brother. He's a grown man. When is he going to take care of himself? When are you going to stop enabling him? I didn't speak to Marcus for 2 days, not because he was wrong, because he was right, and I didn't want to admit it. By 2050, my life had a rhythm. Wake up at 5:30, make Marcus's breakfast, go to work, come home, make dinner, clean the kitchen, do laundry, watch Emma's kids on weekends, visit my mother on Sundays, give Leo money every few months, repeat, repeat, repeat. I turned 53 that year. Julie took me to lunch for my birthday, just the two of us at a nice restaurant downtown. "Are you happy, Janet?" she asked me over dessert. "What kind of question is that? A real one. Are you happy?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "I'm fine," I said finally. That's not what I asked. I didn't answer because I didn't know what happy felt like anymore. I just knew what necessary felt like, what needed felt like, what expected felt like. Julie reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You give so much to everyone. What do they give to you?" "They're my family," I said. Like that explained everything, like that made it okay. The truth was, I didn't know how to stop. The wheel had been turning for so long, I didn't know how to get off. And part of me, a part I didn't want to examine too closely, was afraid of what would happen if I did. Because if I stopped being useful, would I still matter? If I stopped paying and cooking and cleaning and showing up, would anyone still want me around? I was 53 years old and I'd built my entire identity on being the person everyone could count on. The strong one, the reliable one, the one who never said no. But sitting in that restaurant with Julie, I felt something crack inside me. Just a hairline fracture. Nothing catastrophic. Not yet. I pushed the feeling away. I smiled at Julie. I changed the subject. But the crack was there. And over the next 7 years, it would grow wider and wider. Until 3 weeks ago, when it finally broke all the way through. I just didn't know it was coming. I thought I could keep going forever. I thought sacrifice was the same thing as love. There were moments, small moments that didn't seem like much when they were happening, but when I look back now, I can see them clearly, little cuts that I told myself didn't hurt. My 55th birthday was on a Wednesday in 2017. I woke up that morning with a strange feeling in my chest. Hope, maybe. I thought Marcus might remember, maybe make me breakfast for once. Maybe we could go to dinner. He kissed my forehead on his way out the door. "See you tonight, babe." He didn't remember. I went to work. My co-workers brought in a cake. They sang happy birthday. It was nice. But when I got home that evening, the house was dark. No Marcus, no cake, no card. He came home at 8:30 with takeout. "Sorry I'm late. Got caught up watching the game at Raymond's place." I waited. Maybe he'd remember now. Maybe he'd see it on my face. "I'm going to take a shower," he said, heading upstairs. I sat at the kitchen table with his takeout getting cold, and I thought, he forgot my birthday. When he came back downstairs, I said quietly, "Marcus, do you know what today is?" He looked confused for a second. Then his face changed. "Oh, God!" "Janet, your birthday." "Baby, I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you this weekend." He didn't make it up to me. That weekend he had a fishing trip planned with his buddies. He'd forgotten about that too until Friday night. "I promised Raymond months ago," he said. "You understand, right?" I understood that I'd been married 23 years to a man who forgot my birthday and didn't think it was important enough to cancel a fishing trip. But I said, "It's fine, go have fun." That was when I started keeping track. Not on purpose, but I couldn't help noticing. Christmas 2007. I spent $243 on Marcus's gifts. I bought him new tools he'd been wanting, a nice sweater, his favorite cologne, and a watch I'd been saving for. He bought me a candle from the grocery store. Still had the price sticker on it. $7.99. I smiled and said, "Thank you." I lit that candle every night for a month until it burned down to nothing. I don't know why. Maybe I was trying to make it mean more than it did. Emma called me on New Year's Day 2018. "Janet, can you watch the kids tonight?" "It's last minute, I know, but David got us reservations at that new restaurant downtown." "I had plans with Julie," I said. There was a pause. Then, "Oh, well, I guess I'll have to cancel our reservations then. It's fine. We never get to go out anyway, but it's fine." The guilt sat heavy in my stomach. "What time do you need me?" I cancelled on Julie. Again, when I picked up Emma's kids that evening, she was already dressed up, looking beautiful in a black dress I'd never seen before. "You're a lifesaver," she said, kissing my cheek. "There's pizza money on the counter." She didn't ask about my plans. She didn't ask if I minded. She just left. I fed the kids and put them to bed and sat in Emma's beautiful house that her husband's salary paid for, and I thought about my own house. When was the last time Marcus took me to dinner? When was the last time he called me beautiful? I couldn't remember that either. In February 2018, my mother called me at work. "Janet, I need you to take me to my doctor's appointment Thursday." "Mom, I have to work Thursday. Can Emma take you?" "Emma's busy with the children. You know how it is." "I'm busy with work. It's just one appointment, Janet. Surely you can take one afternoon off for your mother." I took the afternoon off. I'd already used most of my personal days for that year taking care of other people's emergencies, but I took off anyway. In the waiting room, my mother talked about the church ladies. She talked about her neighbor's new car. She talked about a television show she was watching. She didn't ask about my work. She didn't ask about Marcus. She didn't ask if taking off was difficult for me. When the appointment was over and I drove her home, she patted my hand. "You're a good daughter, Janet, not like some people's children." I wondered if she knew Emma had been too busy, if she knew and just decided I was easier to ask, more reliable, more likely to say yes, more invisible. That spring, Leo called. He needed money for car insurance, $600. "I don't have it right now, Leo." "Come on, sis, I'm family, you always have it." I said I don't have it. There was a long silence. "Wow. Okay, I guess I'll just figure it out myself then." "Don't worry about your brother." He hung up, and I felt terrible. I felt guilty for saying no, for having a boundary, for not being the ATM machine he expected. I called him back an hour later. "I'll transfer it tomorrow. Thanks, sis. I knew I could count on you." That's what I was, I realized. Reliable. Countable, always there, like a appliance you don't think about until it stops working. Julie and I tried to plan a weekend trip in June. Just 2 days at a bed and breakfast upstate. I was so excited. I bought a new dress. I requested the time off work. 2 days before we were supposed to leave, Emma called. "Janet, I need a huge favor. David's mother is sick and we need to fly to Ohio. Can you take the kids for the weekend?" "I have plans, Emma." "It's a family emergency." "What kind of plans?" "Julie and I are going away." "Julie will understand. This is family." I cancelled the trip. Julie said she understood, but I heard something different in her voice. Resignation, maybe? Like she'd expected it. I watched Emma's kids that weekend. I made them meals and played games with them and tucked them into bed, and I loved them. I did. But I also resented them in a way that made me feel like a terrible person. It wasn't their fault their mother only called me when she needed something. Marcus's birthday was in August. I planned a surprise party. I invited 15 of his friends. I spent 3 days cooking. I bought decorations. I made his favorite cake from scratch. He was happy. His friends had a great time. Everyone told me what a wonderful wife I was. 2 weeks later, I mentioned maybe doing something for my birthday in September. "Like what?" Marcus asked. "I don't know. Maybe dinner out? Or a small party?" "We just had a party. That was expensive. That was your party." He looked at me like I was being unreasonable. "We can go to dinner if you want. Pick a place." I picked a place, a nice Italian restaurant I'd wanted to try. My birthday came. Marcus was 2 hours late. He'd stopped at a sports bar to watch a game with Raymond. I lost track of time, he said. We can still go if you want, but the kitchen's probably closing soon. We didn't go. We ordered Chinese food and ate it in front of the TV. That night, lying in bed next to my husband of 27 years, I felt more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. I thought about all the birthdays I'd made special for him, all the holidays I'd cooked for, all the surprise gestures and thoughtful gifts and careful planning. And I thought about grocery store candles and forgotten reservations and being 2 hours late. I didn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling and wondered when I'd become so small in my own life. In October, my mother had a fall. Nothing serious, but she needed help for a few weeks. Emma and I were supposed to split the responsibility. I took every shift. Because Emma was busy, because the kids had school activities, because it was just easier for me. My mother never thanked me, not once. She just expected me to be there, like the sun rising, like gravity. Like something that doesn't require acknowledgement because it's simply how the world works. By the end of 2019, I'd given Leo another $4,000. I'd watched Emma's kids 73 times. I'd taken my mother to 9 doctor's appointments. I'd cooked 1,095 meals for Marcus. I know because I started counting. I don't know why. Maybe to prove to myself that I wasn't crazy, that I was giving and giving and giving and getting nothing back. Julie asked me once, what would happen if you just stopped? Stopped what? All of it. What would happen? I thought about it. Really thought about it. They'd be angry, I said. But would they be okay? Eventually. And would you be okay? I didn't answer that because I didn't know. The phone call that changed everything came on a Tuesday morning in November, 3 weeks before my surgery. I was at work when my phone rang. It was Leo. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the time, 10 in the morning. Leo never called before noon. Janet, I need to talk to you about something. I'm at work, Leo. Can it wait? No, it's important. It's about Mom. My heart dropped. Is she okay? Did something happen? She's fine. But listen, Emma and I have been talking. Mom's house is getting too much for her. All those stairs. The yard work, she needs to downsize. I relaxed a little. Okay, that makes sense. We can help her look for a smaller place. Well, that's the thing. We found her a nice assisted living place. Real nice. She'd love it. But it costs money. How much? $3,000 a month. I almost dropped my phone. $3,000? Leo, that's... I know it's a lot. But here's what Emma and I were thinking. If we sell Mom's house, we can use that money. The house is paid off. It should sell for around $200,000. We split it 3 ways. That's about $66,000 each. Then we each contribute $1,000 a month for Mom's care. Something felt wrong. I couldn't name it yet, but something felt very wrong. Have you talked to Mom about this? She's on board. She's actually excited about it. No more yard maintenance, no more worrying about repairs. And the assisted living has activities and everything. When are you planning to do this? We're looking at putting the house on the market next month. There's actually someone interested already. We could close by January. I sat there in my office cubicle, phone pressed to my ear, trying to understand what was happening. Why are you just now telling me this? We wanted to have all the details worked out first. So, what do you think? You in? I need to think about it, Leo. What's there to think about? It's for Mom. You're always saying family comes first. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the whole thing felt off. I kept thinking about the numbers. 200,000 split 3 ways, 66,000 each. Then 1,000 a month. I got up at 2 in the morning and sat at the kitchen table with a calculator. If the house sold for 200,000 and we each got 66,000, that meant we'd each have enough to pay for Mom's care for about 5 years. Maybe 6 if we were careful. But what happened after that? Who would pay then? I knew the answer. The same person who always paid. The next morning, I called my mother. Mom, Leo told me about the assisted living plan. Oh yes, Janet, it's such a nice place. They have a garden and a library and... Mom, whose idea was this? She hesitated. Well, Leo and Emma brought it up. But I think it's a good idea, honey. The house is too much. Did they tell you about selling the house? Of course. That's how we'll pay for it. And did they tell you what happens when that money runs out? Another pause. Longer this time. I'm sure we'll figure something out. I closed my eyes. Mom, you're 79 years old. You could live another 20 years. The money from the house will run out in 5, maybe 6. What happens then? Janet, why are you being negative about this? I thought you'd be happy I'd be somewhere safe. I want you somewhere safe, Mum. I just want to understand the plan. The plan is we take care of family. That's what we do. I hung up feeling sick to my stomach. That Saturday, I drove to my mother's house. Emma was already there with Leo. They were measuring rooms, taking pictures, planning. They both smiled when I walked in. Janet! Perfect timing, Emma said. We're just documenting everything for the listing. Can we talk? I said. All of us. We sat in my mother's living room, the same living room where I'd spent every Sunday for 30 years. I have some questions about this plan, I said. Leo leaned back. Shoot! What happens when the money runs out? Emma and Leo looked at each other. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, Leo said. That's not a plan, Leo. That's avoidance. What do you want us to say, Janet? We'll figure it out. We always do. No, I said quietly. I always do. I'm the one who figures it out. Emma's face changed. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time either of you contributed to Mom's groceries, to her bills, to anything? We have our own families to take care of, Emma said. Our own bills. So do I. I have a husband and a job and a mortgage, but somehow I'm the only one who's expected to sacrifice. Sacrifice? Leo's voice got hard. Jesus, Janet, we're not asking you to sacrifice. We're asking you to help with Mom, like family does. I've been helping with Mom for 30 years. I've been helping you for longer than that. How much have I given you, Leo? 15,000? 20,000? His face went red. I didn't realize you were keeping score. I wasn't. But maybe I should have been. Emma stood up. This is ridiculous. We're trying to do something good for Mom and you're making it about money. It is about money, Emma, because when that 66,000 runs out, you both know exactly who's going to be expected to cover the difference. And it's not going to be you. So what are you saying? Leo stood up too. You won't help. I looked at both of them, my brother and my sister, the people I'd been putting first my entire adult life. I'm saying I need to see the actual plan, the real numbers, what the facility costs. What happens long term? I'm saying I'm not signing anything until I understand exactly what I'm agreeing to. You don't trust us, Emma said flatly, would you? If you'd been the only one carrying the weight for 3 decades. Leo grabbed his jacket. You know what? Fine, don't help. We'll figure it out ourselves, like always. You've never figured it out yourselves, I said, my voice shaking. I've always been the one figuring it out. I've always been the one paying and doing and showing up. And you've never once said, thank you. They both stared at me like I'd slapped them. Unbelievable, Emma said, after everything this family has done for you. That stopped me cold. Everything this family has done for me? Like what, Emma? What has this family done for me? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. That's what I thought, I said. They left. Both of them. Angry and righteous and certain I was the problem. My mother came out from the kitchen where she'd been hiding. Janet, that was very ugly. I know, Mum. They're your family. I know. Family takes care of each other. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman I'd been caring for my entire life. This woman who'd never once asked if I needed care too. Does it go both ways, Mom? Does family take care of each other, or does family take care of you, and I take care of everyone? She looked away. I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to say thank you. I want you to acknowledge that I've been showing up for 30 years. I want you to see me. I see you, Janet. No, you don't. None of you do. You see a wallet, you see free babysitting, you see someone who'll always say yes. But you don't see me. I left. I got in my car and I drove home and I sat in my driveway for 20 minutes, shaking. When I walked inside, Marcus was on the couch watching TV. "How was your mom's?" he asked, not looking away from the screen. "We had a fight." "About what?" "Money. Family. Everything." He finally looked at me. "You okay?" And I realized that was the first time he'd asked me that in months, maybe years. "No," I said, "I'm not okay." He muted the TV. "What happened?" I told him everything, the house, the plan, the fight. How invisible I felt. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "So are you going to help them or not?" "Not, that's terrible." "Not, you deserve better." "Not, I'm sorry they treat you like that." Just, are you going to help them or not? That's when I knew it wasn't just Leo and Emma and my mother. It was Marcus too. I was invisible to all of them, and I had been for a very, very long time. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to Marcus in the dark, listening to him breathe, and I did something I'd never done before. I calculated. How much money had I given Leo over the years? I went back in my mind year by year, the rent payments, the car repairs, the utilities, the emergency loans that were never emergencies and never loans because they were never paid back. $23,000. Minimum. Probably closer to $28,000 if I counted everything. How much had I spent on my mother? $300 a month for groceries for how many years? At least 12 years. That was $43,000. Plus the doctor visits I paid for, the medications, the home repairs I'd covered, easily $50,000. Emma never asked for money, but I counted the babysitting 73 times last year alone. If I'd been paid even $10 an hour, and each time was an average of 6 hours, that was $4,080 just last year. Multiply that by the 15 years since her first child was born. I stopped counting. The number was making me sick. But it wasn't just money, it was time. It was energy. It was pieces of myself I'd given away until there was almost nothing left. I got up at 3 a.m. and went to the kitchen. I made coffee and sat at the table with a notepad. I wrote down every sacrifice I could remember from the past year, cancelled plans with Julie 14 times, worked through lunch to leave early for family obligations 22 times, used my vacation days for other people 6 days, cooked meals Marcus didn't thank me for 365. The list went on for 3 pages. When I was done, I sat there looking at my life written out in bullet points and numbers, and I felt something I hadn't let myself feel in 30 years. Rage, not the loud kind, not the kind that yells and breaks things, the quiet kind that sits in your chest like a stone and makes it hard to breathe. I'd given them everything, and they'd taken it like it was their right. The sun came up. Marcus came downstairs at 6:30, same as always. "You're up early," he said. I never went to bed. He looked at me closer then, really looked. "You okay? We need to talk." Something in my voice made him sit down. "I'm not helping Leo and Emma with my mother's assisted living," I said. "Okay, that's your choice. And I'm not giving Leo any more money." Marcus nodded slowly. "Probably a good idea. You've been too generous with him." "And I'm not watching Emma's kids anymore." He blinked. "What? Why?" "Because I'm tired, Marcus. I'm 60 years old and I'm exhausted. But Emma depends on you." "I know. And that's the problem. Everyone depends on me, and nobody gives anything back." He shifted in his chair. I could see him getting uncomfortable. Where is this coming from? It's coming from 32 years of being invisible. It's coming from grocery store candles and forgotten birthdays, and coming home 2 hours late for dinner. It's coming from every single time I've asked you to help with something, and you've said you're too tired from work, like my work doesn't count. Janet, no. Let me finish. I have given everything to this family, everything, And what have I gotten back? When was the last time you took me to dinner? When was the last time you did the dishes without being asked? When was the last time you noticed I was struggling and offered to help? He stared at me. I don't know. Exactly, you don't know. Because you don't notice. None of you notice. That's not fair, isn't it? Marcus, I had surgery 2 weeks ago. You went golfing, you came home and asked what was for dinner. Do you understand how that felt? His face changed. Guilt, maybe. Or embarrassment. I should have been there. Yes, you should have, but you weren't. And that's the problem. You're never there. Not really. You're here in the house, but you're not actually present in my life. We sat in silence for a long moment. What do you want me to say? He finally asked. I don't want you to say anything. I want you to do something. I want you to start acting like you're my partner, not my dependent. I work full-time, Janet. I bring home a paycheck. So do I. But I also cook and clean and manage this entire household. When was the last time you did laundry? When was the last time you cleaned a bathroom? He didn't answer. I'm not doing this anymore, I said quietly. I'm not carrying everyone. I'm done. So what are you saying? You want a divorce? The question hung in the air between us. I don't know what I want, I said honestly. I just know I can't keep living like this. Something has to change. Marcus stood up. He looked lost. I need to go to work. Okay, we'll talk about this later. Will we? Or will you come home and pretend this conversation never happened? He left without answering. I sat there in the quiet house and I felt something shift inside me, something big and permanent. I called in sick to work. For the first time in 3 years, I called in sick when I wasn't actually sick. Then I called Julie. Julie, I need help. What's wrong? Everything. Can you come over? She was there in 30 minutes with coffee and bagels. We sat in my living room and I told her everything. The fight with Leo and Emma, the conversation with Marcus, the calculations I'd done at 3 a.m. Julie listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. What do you want to do? She finally asked. I want to stop. I want to just stop everything and see what happens. Okay, so let's make a plan. We spent the next 2 hours planning, not a revenge plan, not a dramatic exit, just a plan to reclaim my life. I would tell Leo I was no longer available for loans. I would tell Emma I was no longer available for babysitting. I would tell my mother she needed to make other arrangements for her care. And Marcus, I would give one chance, one real chance to step up and be a partner. What if they all get angry? I asked Julie. They will get angry. People don't like it when their free ride ends. What if they cut me off? What if they stop talking to me? Julie took my hand. Then you'll know they never loved you. They just loved what you did for them. And honey, wouldn't it be better to know that now? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Yes, I said, it would. That afternoon, I sent a text to the family group chat. Short and simple. I need to talk to everyone about some changes I'm making. Can we meet Sunday at Mom's house? Leo responded first. What changes? I didn't answer. Emma, is this about the assisted living? Because we've already moved forward with it. I didn't answer that either. My mother called. Janet, what's this about? You're worrying me. We'll talk Sunday, Mum. Can't you just tell me now? Sunday. I hung up before she could guilt me into explaining. Marcus came home that evening and found me in the bedroom. I'd rearranged the furniture, moved his pile of clothes off the chair, made space for myself. What are you doing? He asked. Making room, I said. For what? For me. He looked around the room like he was seeing it for the first time. Do you want me to help? It was such a small thing, such a tiny offer. But it was the first time in years he'd offered to help without being asked. Yes, I said, I'd like that. We moved furniture together in silence. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't reconciliation, it was just a small step. But it was something. That night, I lay in bed and I thought about Sunday, about the conversation I was going to have with my family, about all the ways it could go wrong. I thought about being alone, about losing people I'd spent my whole life caring for. And then I thought about the alternative, spending the rest of my life invisible, spending the next 20 years the same as the last 30. That scared me more than being alone. I was 60 years old. Maybe I had 20 good years left, maybe 30 if I was lucky. I didn't want to spend them disappearing. I wanted to spend them visible, present, alive. Even if it meant losing the people who'd never really seen me anyway. Sunday was coming, and I was ready. Or at least I was ready to try. Sunday came too fast, and not fast enough. I woke up that morning with my stomach in knots. I barely slept. I kept rehearsing what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, trying to predict every argument they'd throw at me. Marcus made coffee. He didn't say much, but he squeezed my shoulder as he handed me my cup. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. "You want me to come with you?" he asked. "No, I need to do this alone." He nodded. "Good luck. I got to my mother's house at 2 o'clock. Everyone was already there." Leo sitting on the couch with his arms crossed. Emma perched on the armchair looking nervous, my mother in her usual spot by the window. "Well," Leo said the moment I walked in, "what's this about?" I sat down. My hands were shaking, so I folded them in my lap. "I need to tell you all something. And I need you to listen without interrupting." Emma opened her mouth, then closed it. I took a deep breath. For 32 years, I have been the person everyone in this family counts on. I've given money I couldn't afford. I've given time I didn't have. I've rearranged my life, cancelled my plans, and put myself last, over and over and over again. "Janet!" My mother started. I said, "Don't interrupt, please." She pressed her lips together. "I've calculated it. I've given Leo close to $28,000 over the years. Money he never paid back. Money I could have used for my own retirement, my own life. Emma, I've watched your children for thousands of hours. For free. While you and David went out to dinners and movies and trips. And Mom, I've spent over $50,000 on your groceries and bills and medical expenses." The room was completely silent. "I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty. I'm saying it because I need you to understand. I have given and given and given, and I have gotten nothing back." "That's not true," Emma said quietly. "We love you. Do you? Because love isn't just a word, Emma. Love is actions. Love is showing up. And when I had surgery 2 weeks ago, not one of you showed up. Not one of you even offered." Leo shifted uncomfortably. "We had things going on. You always have things going on. But somehow, when you need something, I'm expected to drop everything. My things don't matter. My time doesn't matter. I don't matter." "Of course you matter," my mother said. "You're family." "Then treat me like family. Treat me like someone who deserves care and consideration and respect. Not like an ATM machine, not like free labor." I pulled out a piece of paper I'd folded in my purse. My hands were still shaking, but my voice was steady. "Here's what's going to change. Leo, I'm not giving you any more money. Not for rent, not for bills, not for emergencies. If you need help, you can get a second job or talk to a financial counselor. But I'm done." His face went red. "Are you serious right now? Completely serious. So you're just going to let your brother struggle? You're 52 years old, Leo. You should have learned how to manage money by now. The fact that you haven't isn't my responsibility." He stood up. "This is unbelievable. After everything." "After everything what? After everything you've taken from me? Sit down, Leo, I'm not finished." He sat, barely. "Emma, I'm not babysitting anymore. If you need childcare, you can hire a babysitter like everyone else. I love your children, but watching them isn't my job. It's not my obligation, and it's not free anymore." "So you're just done with your niece and nephew?" Emma's voice cracked. "I'm not done with them, but I'm done being used. If you want to bring them to visit me, as family, because you want us to spend time together, that's wonderful, but I'm not covering for your date nights anymore." Tears were running down Emma's face. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long. I turned to my mother. Mom, I'm not buying your groceries anymore. I'm not taking you to every doctor's appointment. You're 79 years old, not helpless. There are services. There's public transportation. There are solutions that don't involve me sacrificing my life. My mother's face went pale. So you're abandoning me? No, I'm setting boundaries. I'll visit you, I'll call you, but I'm not carrying you anymore. I'm your mother, Janet, and I'm your daughter, not your caretaker, not your personal assistant. Your daughter. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Leo stood up again. You know what? Fine. Don't help. We'll manage without you. Good, I said. I hope you do. He walked out, slammed the door behind him. Emma was crying harder now. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold, Emma. I'm just done being warm for people who never kept me warm back. She left too. Quieter than Leo, but just as angry. My mother and I sat there in silence for a long moment. You've changed, she finally said. Yes, I have. I don't like it. You don't have to like it, Mom. But you do have to respect it. I stood up to leave. Janet. Her voice stopped me at the door. What about the assisted living? What am I supposed to do? I turned back. What were you going to do before I was born, Mom? You're a grown woman. You'll figure it out. And if you need actual help, not money, not me doing everything, but actual guidance, you can call me. We can talk. Like adults, like equals. I don't know how to do that, she said quietly. Then it's time to learn. I left. I got in my car and I drove home, and I felt like I'd just climbed a mountain. When I walked into my house, Marcus was waiting. How'd it go? Badly. And perfectly. He hugged me. It was the first real hug he'd given me in years. Not a quick squeeze, a real embrace. I'm proud of you, he said into my hair. Are you? Yeah, I am. That week, I did something else I'd never done. I opened my own bank account, separate from the joint account Marcus and I shared. I transferred money into it, not everything, but enough. Enough that if I needed to leave, I could. Enough that I had options. I changed my phone settings so I could see how much time I was spending on family calls. I started tracking it. Leo used to call me 5 or 6 times a week, always needing something. After that Sunday, he didn't call at all. Emma called once 2 weeks later. The kids miss you, she said. I miss them too. Can I bring them by this weekend, just to visit? Of course. She brought them Saturday afternoon. We played games and I made them cookies, and Emma stayed the whole time. She didn't drop them off and leave. She stayed. We didn't talk about the fight. We just existed together, differently than before. When they left, she hugged me at the door. Thank you for today. You're welcome. I'm sorry, Janet, for all of it. I nodded. I wasn't ready to say, it's okay, because it wasn't okay. But I was ready to move forward. I started doing things for myself, small things at first. I took a pottery class on Tuesday evenings, just because I wanted to. I went to the movies alone on a Wednesday afternoon. I'd never done that before. It felt strange and wonderful. I bought myself flowers every Friday, not waiting for someone to buy them for me, just buying them because I deserved beauty in my life. Marcus noticed the changes. Sometimes he seemed scared by them. Sometimes he seemed inspired. One night in December, he made dinner, spaghetti and garlic bread. It wasn't fancy, but he made it. What's this? I asked. Dinner. I figured you shouldn't have to cook every night. It was overcooked and the sauce was from a jar, but I ate every bite. Thank you, I said. I should have been doing this all along, he said. Shouldn't I? Yes. I'm sorry I didn't. I know. We started small. He did dishes 2 nights a week, then 3. He started doing his own laundry. He learned how to grocery shop. It sounds so simple, but for us, it was revolutionary. My mother called me in January. I found an apartment, she said. A senior complex. It's nice, cheaper than the assisted living. That's great, Mom. Emma helped me look. I smiled. I'm glad. I still think you overreacted, she said. But I understand why you were upset. It wasn't a real apology, but it was a start. Judy and I started having dinner every Thursday, our standing date. Nobody else, nothing else, just us. You seem lighter, she said one night in February. I feel lighter. Like I've been carrying a weight for so long, I forgot what it felt like to stand up straight. What are you going to do with all this freedom? She asked. I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out. I started saving money. Real money. Money that wasn't already earmarked for someone else's emergency. By March, I had $2,000 in my personal account. It felt like a fortune. I used some of it to book a weekend trip with Julie, a bed and breakfast upstate, the same one we'd planned before. This time, nobody called to cancel. Nobody needed me. Nobody interrupted. We hiked and read books and drank wine on the porch, and I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Free. At 60 years old, I was finally learning how to live a life that was mine. Not perfect. Not without pain or complications or difficult conversations. But mine. It's been 4 months since that Sunday meeting at my mother's house. 4 months since I said the words that changed everything. I'm done being invisible. I'm sitting in my kitchen right now, drinking my morning coffee, and the house is quiet. But it's a different kind of quiet than it used to be. It's not the quiet of loneliness, it's the quiet of peace. Let me tell you where everyone is now. Leo hasn't spoken to me since that Sunday. He sent one text 3 weeks after our meeting. I hope you're happy. Mum's in a facility we can barely afford and you don't even care. I didn't respond, because the truth was, my mother wasn't in a facility they could barely afford. She was in a nice senior apartment complex that cost half what the assisted living would have cost. Emma found it. Emma, who suddenly had to step up when I stepped back. Turns out my sister was capable of helping all along. She just never had to before. My mother calls me now, once a week, usually on Wednesday evenings. We talk for about 20 minutes. She tells me about her apartment, her neighbors, the book club she joined. I tell her about my life. Actually tell her, not just listen. Last week, she said something that surprised me. You seem different, Janet, lighter somehow. I am lighter, I said. I put down a lot of weight I'd been carrying. There was a pause. Then, I'm sorry I didn't see it. How heavy it was for you. It wasn't a full apology. It wasn't acknowledgement of 30 years. But it was something, and I'm learning that sometimes something is enough. Emma and I are speaking again. It took 2 months. She called me in January, right after New Year's. I need to apologize, she said. I took advantage of you for years, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. Did you really not realize? Or did you just not want to see it? She was quiet for a long time. Both, I think. It was easier not to look too close. You were always just there, you know, like air. I didn't think about it. We meet for coffee now, once a month, just the two of us. We talk about real things. She doesn't ask me to watch her kids. When she needs a babysitter, she hires one. Last month, she paid for lunch. It was such a small thing, but I almost cried, because it meant she saw me as someone worth investing in, not just someone to take from. Leo? I don't know about Leo. Maybe someday he'll come around. Maybe he won't. I've made peace with both possibilities. Marcus is the complicated one. He's trying. I'll give him that. He does the dishes 3 nights a week now. He cooks dinner on Sundays. He asks me how my day was and actually listens to the answer. But some things can't be fixed with dishes and Sunday dinners. 30 years of being unseen doesn't disappear in 4 months. We're in counseling every Tuesday evening. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it just makes us both tired. Last week, our therapist asked him, "When did you fall in love with Janet?" He talked about when we first met, how beautiful I was, how easy I was to be with, how I made him feel taken care of. The therapist turned to me. "And Janet, when did you feel most loved by Marcus?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I don't know if I ever did," I said. "I felt needed. I felt useful. But loved? I'm not sure I know what that feels like." Marcus cried. It was the first time I'd seen him cry in 29 years of marriage. "I do love you," he said. I just didn't know how to show it. You showed it by taking me for granted, I said. That's not love, Marcus. That's convenience. I don't know if we'll make it. Some days I think we will. Some days I think we won't. But here's what I know. I'm not staying out of fear anymore. I'm not staying because I've invested 30 years and can't imagine starting over. If I stay, it'll be because he becomes the partner I deserve. And if he can't do that, I'll leave. At 60 years old, I'm finally okay with either outcome. I went back to work full-time in December. But I did something I'd never done before. I applied for a promotion. A position I'd been qualified for 10 years ago, but never pursued because I was too busy taking care of everyone else. I got it. I start as office manager next month. It comes with a raise and my own office and responsibilities that matter. My boss said I should have applied years ago. Why didn't you? She asked. I didn't think I had time, I said. But the truth was, I didn't think I deserved it. I'd spent so long making myself small, I forgot I could be big. Julie and I went on that trip we planned. 2 weeks ago, we spent a weekend at that bed and breakfast upstate. We hiked and read books and drank wine and talked about everything and nothing. You're different, she said on the last morning. You take up more space now. Is that bad? God, no. It's wonderful. You were always there, Janet. You just forgot. I'm glad you remembered. I have a savings account now that nobody else knows about. I opened it in December. Every paycheck, I put $200 in it. It's mine. Just mine. For the first time in my life, I have money that isn't spoken for before I even earn it. Last week, I bought myself something frivolous. A beautiful blue dress that I'll probably only wear once. It cost $180 and I didn't feel guilty at all. I wore it to dinner with Julie. We took pictures. I looked at myself in those pictures and I barely recognized the woman smiling back at me. She looked happy. She looked present. She looked visible. I'm not going to tell you I have all the answers now. I don't. Some days are still hard. Some days I feel guilty for the boundaries I've set. Some days I wonder if I'm being selfish. But then I remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. And all those years I spent calling it sacrifice, I was just scared to admit I was making myself disappear. My life isn't perfect now. Marcus and I still argue. My mother still makes comments sometimes, that sting. I still miss the version of my family that I thought I had before I realized it was built on my invisibility. But I'm here. I'm present. I'm taking up space. And for the first time in 32 years, when I look in the mirror, I see someone looking back. Not a wallet, not free labor, not a woman who exists only to serve others. Just me, Janet. 60 years old and finally learning that I matter too. If stories like this resonate, stay connected. Like and subscribe. We talk about real things here. I don't know what the next chapter of my life looks like, but I know this, I'm writing it myself now, not letting other people write it for me, and maybe that's not the Hollywood ending. Maybe it's not dramatic or satisfying in the way revenge would be, but it's mine. This quiet, imperfect, still unfolding life is mine. And that's more than enough. I thought sacrifice made me important. I thought being needed was the same as being loved. I thought making myself smaller would make them love me more. I was wrong about all of it. But I'm not wrong anymore. At 60 years old, I'm finally learning the difference between being needed and being valued, between being used and being loved, between disappearing and being present. It's not too late. That's what I want you to know. If you're reading this and seeing yourself in my story, if you're the one everyone counts on but nobody takes care of, if you're invisible in your own life, it's not too late. You can choose yourself. You can set boundaries. You can take up space. And the people who truly love you will adjust. They'll step up. They'll see you. And the ones who don't, the ones who get angry when you stop being convenient, they were never yours to lose. That's the hardest truth I've learned. But it's also the most freeing. I'm 60 years old. I don't know how many years I have left, but however many there are, I'm going to spend them visible. I'm going to spend them mattering. I'm going to spend them alive. And if that makes me selfish, then I guess I'm finally okay with that too.